Welcome to another show of Focus on Health. I know I always say this is a good show. Every show is a good show, but you know why? I wouldn't have it if there was, all joking aside. I like to tease, and this is going to be a teaser. This is huge for the entire community, what we're going to be talking about. I have two good friends here, and guess what? I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to think about it because I know you're smart, and we're going to be right back right after the other end of this commercial.
Hi, I'm Lisa Goodwin, Deputy City Manager of Columbus, Georgia. First, we got rolling with our automated recycling collection. Now it's time to get rolling again with household trash and yard waste collection. Look for your new automated collection carts coming to you soon.
I told you I wasn't going to be long. We'll be right back in a second. I have to my right two good friends of mine. They call he and I the odd couple. I have Dr. Stephen Leichter right here, the best endocrinologist anywhere around. And to his right, Mr. Phil Schuler, another good friend of mine. And we're going to tell you something that is huge, H-U-G-E, for Columbus. I mean, this is the mayor's legacy. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my friend Steve Leichter explain the genesis of it, take about 2 or 3 minutes. But before that, I would like for each of them, starting with you, Steve, to look into this camera right here and let everybody know where your wonderful practice is that keeps my hun bun very healthy, right here in that camera.
We are part of Piedmont Healthcare, and we have the largest diabetes center in the western half of the state of Georgia, and it's in Brookstone Center on the north side of town.
All righty, and I'm going to shoot over to Mr. Phil Schuler. Phil, would you look into that camera and let everybody know about you?
Hey, I am Phil Schuler, been in the healthcare industry for about 17 years now, and just love being a citizen of Columbus.
There you go. And you work for who?
I work for a pharmaceutical company in the area.
There we go. That sounds great. All right, now let me just tell you, I'm going to shoot it over to my good friend Steve here and let him tell you the whole genesis of this. I'm going to kick it off first. Everybody wants to have a legacy, and so the mayor mentioned that he wanted to have a legacy, that he wants an imprint on this community here. And then my very good friend here to my right, Dr. Steve Leichter, the best endocrinologist ever, stepped into the picture.
Well, the way this started was there's been statistical studies done 3 times over the last 10 or so years to look at how many people in Columbus get stroke, heart attack, cancer, and diabetes versus other cities in the state of Georgia. And 3 times these studies have shown that the people of Columbus have a higher incidence of these diseases, and it represents a greater health and financial burden to the population of our area than any other area of the state of Georgia. The mayor, when he first got elected, was very concerned about this, and he's the first mayor to become specifically concerned about this because the healthcare systems and the hospitals in the area have been. And over a period of time, he formed a plan, speaking with a number of people, including Pops, about what we might do about this, and ultimately they came and asked me how we might impact on this. And from those discussions, he formed this commission that you're going to hear about in this show, which is called the Mayor's Commission on Health. And it's got an overall goal of trying to reduce the impact of stroke, heart attack, cancer, diabetes, and other diseases on our population. And there are 2 pieces of this commission, which we're going to talk about in this show.
And this is really impactful. When I say impactful, I mean really impactful. And it's been, I think, Steve and Phil, over a year in preparation for this year. Well, a year and a half, about a year?
2 years.
2 years, okay. 2 years in preparation for this year. Because prior to this year, when the mayor was a counselor, the health department did a study, and it spoke. You didn't even know how to even read graphics, but they had a swath that showed the incidences from Mississippi over. And as they got closer to Columbus, that billboard widened and widened and widened. So that spoke volumes to the amount of morbidity and mortality here in this area. And guess what? That's avoidable. And so 2 years worth of work with Dr. Leiter and with Phil and other organizations. And we're at this point now to let you know, the ones that we want to do this for you to live long with your loved ones and for them to live a long, productive life here. And at the helm is my good friend. Unfortunately, he went to an inferior Ivy League school, Columbia. But he says, I went to an inferior Ivy League one at Penn. And that's what makes us so close buddies, because he's just a marvelous person to know, has a good sense of humor. And so what we're going to do, we're going to start, first of all, talk about the metabolics of it, what causes this here. And then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Leiter and let him do with that. And so, Bruce, if we're ready with there we go, and we're all set, then I'm going to turn it over to my good friend, Dr. Leiter, to explain about the apple body shape, and then we're going to go on to how this whole procedure is going to work. So you've got it now.
So first we saw the logo of the Mayor's Commission on Health, which is that. And then this is our effort to try to help make the people of Columbus healthier.
Next slide.
So this is an apple body shape. An apple body shape is someone who is thicker around their waist than they are around their hips. And actually, the World Health Organization has defined this scientifically as someone where the width around the waist is greater than the width around the hips. And the greater the width around the waist is versus the hips, the more significant the apple body shape is in that person.
Okay. I'm going to let you control the slide.
Okay, next slide, please. For a variety of reasons we're going to talk about, people with this characteristic have a significantly greater risk of all of these diseases: heart disease, stroke, cancer, diabetes, osteoporosis, and osteoarthritis. Next slide. They also have a much higher risk of needing joint replacement surgery from the effects of the osteoarthritis. Next slide. And they have a higher lifetime risk of osteoporosis.
Wow.
And now, it's interesting, why would one characteristic have a significant link to all of these different sorts of diseases? Next slide, please. Well, it turns out that a person's health habits interact with their body shape to determine how healthy they are over a long period of time. And people that have bad health habits, for example, people that eat a lot of fatty foods or high sugar foods as shown in this slide, next slide, or people who don't exercise much, these two primary characteristics in lifestyle increase the risks of all these diseases. Next slide. Why is that? Next slide. Because the fat pad in the abdomen that gives someone an apple body shape, which is called the omental fat pad, next slide, makes more hormones than any other tissue in the body. And most folks have never heard of any of these hormones. Next slide. Some of the hormones cause inflammation. And the thicker the apple shape is, the more of these inflammatory hormones the person makes. And over a long period of time, the person gets into a state of constant body inflammation. Their body is inflamed. They may not ever feel anything about it. They may not know what's happening, although we do see people where they come in and they're complaining of aches and pains and joint pains, and they don't realize it's from these inflammatory proteins. Next slide. And those inflammatory proteins cause a lot of damage in the body. They attack the heart and the arteries and increase the rate at which cholesterol is put in the arteries and the heart, so they increase the rate of atherosclerosis. They stimulate the formation of cancer cells. One or more of these proteins kills the cells in the pancreas that makes insulin, and that causes diabetes. They attack bone to tear healthy tissue out of bone, and they inflame the joints. And so this link occurs between having an apple shape, having adverse lifestyle, unhealthy lifestyle, which stimulates the fat pad in the abdomen to make these inflammatory proteins. And the thicker the apple shape, the more high fat or high sugar food the person eats, the less they exercise, the more these inflammatory proteins they make, and then their risk of all of these diseases increases. And this doesn't occur over one day, Pops. This occurs over a period of 10, 20, or 30 years. But it's why we see people who have this characteristic when they're 25, and when they're 55, they've had a heart attack, they've had to have joint replacement surgery. It's because of the persistence of the increased secretion of these inflammatory proteins.
And you know, what's interesting is, and which I'm glad you followed up on, was going to be my question, is the fact that a person could start this process, gaining weight, eating more over years, not manifesting any symptoms. But what it's like is like starting a fire, but you said inflammatory proteins,
right,
hormones, and it's like continually pouring gasoline on it, even though you know you don't feel the heat. It's still tearing your body down over years, and you may think you are healthy, but then all of a sudden you have an imposition of a number of morbidities, number of problems, whereas it's been something that's been accumulating over years. And that's why, exactly why, us discussing this here is so important, because I'll be honest with you, the constant eating, not realizing, and the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. Phil over here is a Bible scholar, by the way, so I wanted to let you know. He's shaking his head. The Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. Well, this is a prime example, and that's why all of us, Dr. Leiter, Phil, I, Mike, and the mayor, who's the genesis of this, we're all excited about this. So thank you.
Now, the more fat a person eats, the more they stimulate the formation of these chemicals in their body that they don't want. Next slide. And the less active someone is, the more they make these chemicals that are going to hurt their body over a long period of time. Next slide. Next slide. So body shape counts, and that's the signal logo of this program. The more of an apple shape you have, the more high-fat food you eat, the less you exercise, the more of these inflammatory proteins you make, and the greater the risk that you're going to get these diseases, and the more severe the diseases are going to become. Right. So that's basically what this is all about.
And let me just give you kudos that these slides are just so accurate. They depict exactly what's said. How many, and I'm going to be honest with you, everybody can see I've lost a lot of weight. That first picture that you saw, that huge Big Mac, you saw that guy like this here eating over on the side. The next picture, you saw him like this here. The only thing it didn't show was a clicker in his hand and watching TV. And all the time, you're wreaking havoc on your body. And that's why, you know, this is extremely important. Really want you all to pay attention to this, because this is really something that's dealing with your health, your time on this planet, your time with loved ones. And here's the biggest thing: how enjoyable the quality of life you have with your loved ones, or your loved ones have with you. And so now what we're going to do is, because now it's a big puzzle, but I would like for Dr. Leiter to mention now, say I have an apple body shape, Dr. Leiter, and I'm looking in the mirror as I'm watching this program, I'm looking at, I have one. I have an apple body shape. What do I need to do? What's the first step in helping me to help myself?
Well, the first step is to make sure you eat low-fat food, to absolutely decrease the amount of high-fat food you take in. Fried food, greasy food, cheesy food, and also high-sugar foods, like regular beverages that are sweetened. And the second step is to exercise, even if it just means walking. Because when a person exercises, Pops, they make a group of hormones that block these inflammatory proteins from working. And so exercise and eating low-fat, low-sugar food, that's the first step. The second step is to go see your doctor and find out if some drugs may be important to help decrease the secretion of these abnormal hormones. We have a number of drugs now, including a drug that Phil's company makes, that decrease the secretion of inflammatory proteins and decreases their impact on the body. And one of the most common drugs that does that is metformin.
Do you see why I make sure? I had a hard time, by the way, not a hard time, but I took my wife. No one could pinpoint what was the matter with my wife. And she is the command sergeant major, the capo de tutti capi, and everything. And city council, everything goes out the window when I take that threshold into that doorway. And no one could pinpoint it. And finally, one of my nurse friends says, "You want to know something? Doctor, why don't you just take your wife to Dr. Light?" I said, "You want to know something? You're right." At first visit, he pinpointed what was the matter with her, all the symptoms that she had, the medication he put her on, the regimen he had her on, because I was out of my wits' end, because when you go to doctor after doctor and they don't know and they do all the exams and whatever, he pinpointed it exactly. And so he became a friend from that. Even though he went to Columbia, he's a very close friend of mine. You can just see, and I know for a fact, he lives and breathes the health of people. You saw how he broke that down. The ones the medications that will help you with, and all the other endocannabinoids that will combat you wanting to grab that triple burger dripping with that juice and whatever. So he is really the one that has really gotten that. He is the captain of the morphology, the physiology of all this here. So now, how is all this going to come together? That's a puzzle. It's going to unravel in a minute, because I'm going to have my other friend, Phil Schuler, tell you all the work that he's been doing. We'll be back in the other end of this commercial.
Hi, I'm Lisa Goodwin, Deputy City Manager of Columbus, Georgia. First, we got rolling with our automated recycling collection. Now it's time to get rolling again with household trash and yard waste collection. Look for your new automated collection cards coming to you soon.
Welcome back to Focus on Health. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to pass the ball to my good friend Phil Schuler. He's going to tell you how all this is going to roll out and all the organizations involved in it, and just how it's all going to, how to glue, to piece all of this together. And so Phil, Mr. Phil Schuler, he's going to go through his slides right now. We're going to conversate and whatever, and he's going to tell you how all this is going to happen. Phil?
So Dr. Leichter did an excellent job really explaining kind of the mission and the purpose and the reason for what we're doing. You can go ahead and switch to the next slide. So our goal is to really improve the health of the citizens of Columbus. We recognize, as Dr. Leichter said, that there is too high of a burden of chronic illness, of so many things that are hurting the citizens of Columbus. Right. And so we have worked with a multitude of organizations around the city to come up with a plan on how we can address that. So some of the things that we want to do: decrease food insecurity, make healthier food easier for people to be able to obtain. We want to make healthy lifestyles more attainable, and that really is the key. So when we talk about the 3 mobile vehicle programs, all of them are designed to be able to help make a healthy lifestyle more accessible and attainable for everybody around Columbus. And again, you see the chronic diseases that are focus areas that we're trying to address. You can go to the next slide. So what we have come up with as a large group, if you will, of the Mayor's Health Commission, we realized that the most effective way for us to be able to help the citizens of Columbus is to give them access to a healthy lifestyle. So the 3 mobile vehicle programs that we will be rolling out are a mobile food pantry, a mobile market that's going to bring access to healthy foods. We are going to have a ramped up mobile health clinic. Piedmont Healthcare has already had a mobile health clinic. That is going to be ramped up. The scope's going to be advanced. And just recently, the Department of Health has also added a mobile health clinic. And so now we have 2 mobile health clinics to really be able to coordinate and synergize to get out there and address the needs in Columbus.
And because as you said, that one of the integral pieces, Phil, is education. You've got to educate the individuals.
Absolutely.
Because first of all, you've got to educate them, let them realize the importance. And as my good friend here did, he broke it down so easily so individuals could understand the importance of it. So all of these things that it's not just to tell them, you've got to educate them, the whys, wherefores, how comes as well.
Absolutely. In fact, that education is the key. The part that I'm in charge of, if you will, is the logistical access, making sure that people have the ability to get these things. But what Dr. Leichter's doing with the message is so key.
Oh, it's key.
Because that's going to be what resonates to people, and they're going to say to themselves, I need to take some steps to help myself in this area.
That's exactly right.
And then they'll be able to say, where can I get access to these mobile vehicles?
Bingo.
And now I can get healthy food.
Bingo.
Now I know what to do. I hear some things I can do to start exercising.
Bingo.
And now I can get connected to a doctor to help me.
Right. And it also puts the onus of responsibility through the education and individual coaching and showing and monitoring the individuals, the benefit of all of this here. So this is huge what y'all are doing. Balls in your court again.
So the mobile food market, some of the things that will be available with that, healthy foods. So in partnership with Feeding the Valley, for example, this mobile food pantry is going to have just free food. So Columbus, again, one of the higher burdens that Columbus has compared to other cities is just a higher incidence of food insecurity.
Right.
There are more people in Columbus, more families that just don't have enough food.
Sure.
And so the first part of what is going to be able to be accomplished is that mobile food pantry is going to go into these underserved, underprivileged areas and bring them healthier foods. The second part of that is that they will have healthy foods available for purchase. So we've been able to get a partnership with the Food Mill and Wholesome Wave of Columbus, very similar to what Mercy Med has already been doing in that area of town. And when the mobile market goes around town, people will be able to use their SNAP benefits to purchase healthier foods,
yes,
and they'll be able to save 50% off of that. So they'll be able to get twice as much.
That's awesome. That's something like that is extremely awesome.
Absolutely. And back to the education component. So we know a lot of times, sometimes people get these healthy foods and they don't exactly know what to do with them,
right,
how to prepare them, how to cook them. And so there will also be cooking demonstrations as a part of this mobile farmers market, where they'll show people just very simply, how do you prepare the food, how do you cook it, and just
right,
try to give them that education so that it can be easy for them. That
right,
when they take that food home, they'll know what to do and they'll be able to use it.
That aspect of it is huge, because what is that saying? You can give a person a fish and they eat for a day, but if you can tell them how to fish to eat. So it's not only that, but the other part is actually coaching them, showing them how to stay healthy.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Some of the other things that we're working on related to the food is getting a growing awareness of the importance of urban farming as well. So,
sure,
so helping these citizens around Columbus maybe to even be able to start growing some of their own food. So
sure,
now they've got that, they've got the mobile pantry, and just raising the access to healthy foods in Columbus.
Well, I'm going to tell you, and you brought up a point prior to our show, that individuals used to do that. I mean, they used to grow their own foods, and so therefore that was huge right there, in growing their own foods. And what has been missing is the vital aspect, being in areas where the food's limited anyway, and having to go to places. Now, I know you're going to talk about the other end of it, which is the food modification. Have to go to areas and not know that with canned vegetables or rinse them off and things and all like that. Education, 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 monitoring. This program has got to be successful because everybody's thought about so many intricate things that's very valuable for the overall success of this program. So let's talk about, you talked about the health department getting involved in this here and whatever.
Yeah, so the mobile health clinic, Piedmont has a mobile health clinic, and now the Department of Health also has a mobile health clinic. So the goal with the mobile health clinics are really going to be to help citizens overcome obstacles that keep them from regularly seeing a primary care provider. So we're going to be doing some screenings, identify some underlying, maybe some things that are already going wrong, and when those are identified, there will be a nurse social worker there on the vehicle that can help those patients to overcome obstacles. And it may be a lot of people in Columbus. One of the other statistics that's higher in Columbus is the rate of uninsured individuals.
Sure.
So that caseworker
huge.
can help them to be able to get that insurance coverage, to get access there. Maybe transportation is a struggle.
Sure.
So our hope and desire is to be able to maybe help them figure out a way to overcome that transportation obstacle.
Right.
And then just get them connected to a primary care provider who can take over their care and really help them to get those chronic illnesses under control.
Sure.
And that's going to make the biggest long-term positive benefit for them.
And you want to know something, just from the meticulous way that you've gone through all this here, you've covered A through Z. Really, you covered everything. Education, you covered the fact that people are going to be screened. There are other factors that when you're talking about health, which I see, many people are underinsured or have no insurance, so therefore they can't follow through. Having a social worker or someone there that can push those buttons and make the connections is huge, very impactful to every individual.
Yeah. So the third element of the mobile vehicle programs is in a partnership that we have with the City of Columbus Parks and Recs Department. And they are going to oversee the rollout of what's going to be called the Rollin Rec Mobile.
All righty.
And that is going to be a vehicle that's going to go around town to really just encourage folks to get up and get moving and have some fun and be active. The primary focus is going to be to engage children from kindergarten up to 8th grade, in addition to their families, just to, as many people as we can get to be involved, just to come out. There'll be all kinds of exercise equipment and games and sports things.
Good.
And we are in partnership with the Sheriff's Department and the Columbus Police Department as well. They're going to be coming out as volunteers just to be involved and just to have some fun, play some games, be active with citizens of Columbus. And we really hope and expect that another benefit to this, in addition to helping people get moving and exercise, to which there's a huge health benefit, there'll also be the benefit of allowing people to build positive relationships.
Right.
People in the communities with each other, just spend time doing good, positive things together, building those relationships with the police officers and sheriff's deputies,
Sure.
just to build those positive relationships. Many of these people just, they don't have a lot of positive relationships,
No.
and so we want to help them with that as well.
And a lot of good people. One of the contributing factors is the fact that so many people live in silos nowadays.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I can remember everybody knew everybody. You two know that, knew everybody. That Miss Sally, Mr. Jane, Mr. Harvey. Families travel. When somebody was ill, you went from one place. People don't do that anymore. Can we go back to that last slide with the Rollin? I'm gonna look at that.
Rollin Rec
The
Mobile.
Rollin Rec Mobile. The Rollin Rec Mobile. Now you have up there engaged children, kindergarten through 8th grade. Oh, I got it. I missed that. I didn't say, and their families, because you got the grandfathers and the great grandfathers like me. We like to get out there and do some things too. We like to get out there and dance and jump around and have fun too. So something like that's important. And it also, what I like about this program, the reason I had you go back to this slide, to kid and joke with y'all, but also to prove this program is applicable to anyone at any age or any step of their physical condition. In other words, you can have somebody that's 300 pounds, triple, double, quadruple. Someone stopped me and said, "Pop, do I have?" I saw that program. Do I have a quadruple body shape? I said, "Well, I love you now. I want you to know I love you. It's a said in love. You do have a quadruple one." And so, at any point in anyone's life or condition, they can plug into this program.
Yes.
And so that's what makes it so good. Anyone at any stage can just plug in, because there's another number of individuals who, through the grace of the good Lord, are still alive, don't have insurance, or horrifically out of shape, have a multiplicity of morbidities, problems, but yet and still, this program and the knowledge and the skills are applicable to them. So that's the huge part of this here as well, because anyone can get in, plugged into this here to help to prolong your life and your health.
Absolutely. And Pops, I know you're familiar with the verses that talk about two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. And if one falls, the other can pick them up. And then it goes on to say that a threefold cord is not quickly broken. So there is strength in unity. And a big part of what we're doing is to bring together a lot of key players around Columbus and synergize.
Right.
And so one of the things we want to do with all of these mobile vehicle programs is to have big event days around Columbus. So we're going to have all three of these vehicles, or four, or as we're able to grow, just get them all out there in a community and do some big events, maybe a 3-on-3 basketball tournament or some other things. And we'll have the food out there. Grandmas can come and moms and they can watch how the cooking demonstrations.
Sure.
And they'll have other things that can just do a big event and get everybody together, and have the mobile health clinics there where they can just go while they're waiting to go get screened for some things.
And something like this here, the way it's structured is so flexible. You can have a potpourri of activities, like you were talking about, a cooking even demonstration while the rec mobiles there, and the CPD and the sheriff's office, and you have so many things going on. The flexibility of this program is just awesome. And I'm excited about it. You all are excited about it. I know the mayor's excited about this. This is his legacy. And okay, now let's talk what we haven't talked about, tentative timeframes.
So the tentative time frame to be able to kick everything off is late spring, early summer. There, of course, with the COVID and the supply chain issues, we're trying to get some vehicles in and doing some remodeling of some of the other vehicles. But the goal is late spring to really be able to kind of launch and get everything going.
Now, the reason that I asked that is because for those who, and I would like for Dr. Leitler to also speak all about this. It's late spring or early summer, because we have this pandemic and that's knocked off everybody's schedule and time frames and whatever, so there may be delays, but that's the tentative date, maybe later than that. But guess what? That does not stop you from doing what my eminent friend here has said. Now, I'd like him to look into this camera, because guess what? The program actually starts with you. And I'm going to have him go over, think about, first of all, is being selective. And he's way more versed in this than I am. I just want to kick it off and lay the groundwork for it. Be selective in how you eat the items that you eat. I have had to do that. I love, with a capital LOVE, not this here, not that, but this here, stack of pancakes with about that big a thing of butter on top, and then I just knock the syrup all over it and have it. I haven't had that in almost a year. So I've been very selective, but it doesn't mean you can deprive, because I can eat something like this here with TT butter and just TT syrup on it, and let that be it, not anything like this here, because I start to think about longevity, being here with my grandkids and great-grandkids, which took a priority over my taste buds. And so the little things that you know that you need to do, you can do. And then, as I'm going to let the doctor finish, because then you find a healthcare provider. And you do, instead of sitting there like this here, watching the game, just get on up and start moving around a little bit. As the doctor said, walking can start. So the program actually starts with you. As we're waiting for all the other things, facets to pick in, the program really starts with you. And so, doctor, I want you as the expert to just look into this camera and just put it out in that medical terms way better than I could put in what I just said.
Well, it's absolutely correct that if an individual person starts becoming much more selective about the food they're eating and starts to work with a health provider, and one of the aspects of this program that we haven't talked about, Pops, is working with a number of organizations. We are going around and
Yes,
touching base
we do.
with all the health professionals in town to make sure they're versed in this so that a person can get this information from their providers, from some of the bigger organizations like Valley Healthcare and Mercy Med. And secondly, just very simple things. One of the new concepts in endocrinology, my area of medicine, is to skip breakfast. We used to think breakfast was the most important meal of the day. It turns out studies are showing that if you are heavy, if you have an apple body shape, the most important meal to skip is breakfast. A second thing is, we used to think that drinking caffeine was bad for you, but it turns out that drinking caffeinated beverages, if you're heavy, promotes weight loss and improves heart health. So we're telling people, have coffee with artificial sweetener in it, have Diet Cokes, because that decreases the appetite and improves cardiac health. And so there are a number of easy things people can do to make themselves healthy.
Phil's laughing. And the reason Phil's laughing is because my children, being ex-military, not ex-military, being on active duty, because you're always going to be military in your heart, I would start drinking my first cup of coffee at 3:30 or 4 in the morning.
Right.
And I still get up. My wife would just say to my children, Dad, you got to cut back on that caffeine. You got to cut on back. Whoa! You have made my day.
That's
because,
right.
Yes, you have. I don't care if you're from Columbia or not. You've always been close to me, even Columbia, but even more, because the caffeine
It's good for you.
is good. That is awesome. He's laughing and laughing because I'm so ecstatic. You can't see Phil's laughing too. That is really good news. Oh my goodness gracious. I'm just so happy right now but this is the kind of information, you know, that you'll be receiving in this program, because you have healthcare experts, clinicians who will be telling you these things. And it can't get any better than this here, where you can have individuals whose concern is for you and to give you everything that you really need to know to stay healthy. Because here's the bottom line. This is where the rubber meets the road. We get down to the bare nitty gritty. When you distill everything down in life, including chasing your dreams or anything like that, the most important things in life is your relationship with the good Lord, and here's the thing, and your relationships with your loved ones. Very simple. And so I'm hoping that your relationship with the Lord is intact, but here's the big thing. You want to spend as much time here on this earth plane here with your loved ones, and the way that you do that is to stay healthy. I learned as a nurse that sometimes when you're a professional, you can overlook, you're running around taking care of everyone else, till you get a wake-up call. The wake-up call is centering in on that. Your loved ones, if you need to discipline, like I needed, to watch my diet and things. When I start seeing, and when I got the call, we're expecting again, are we? And what? You're in California. We're going to be another great grand. When you start realizing that, you start doing the math and say, I sure would like to be around to see them grow. It makes it real. And so for all of you right here, this program here, this is for you. It's for you, and it's for your loved ones. And so I know you've enjoyed this show. You got a lot of good information. I'd like to thank my friend for a long time, friend for life, Dr. Stephen Leichter, and Mr. Phil Schuler, phenomenal individual. And I always end the show with this here, to people. Until next time, please be good. And, wait a second. I know one thing that I need to put in. Give your information in this camera to where your office is at. Did you say?
We're in Brookstone Center.
You're in Brookstone Center.
Right.
Okay, Brookstone Center. Until next time, please be good and kind to yourself, because God loves you. Bye-bye.